Hello, denizens. 8 weeks of She-Hulk. Sorry for the late review. I'm still a little bit under the weather. After I saw episode 8, I was struggling with what I could offer that would be interesting for you denizens. I could go over each and every logical inconsistency, but who is that for, really? Is it for you, or is it for me, who wants to demonstrate how brilliant I am? So I think I've come up with an interesting angle, but first I want to give you my overall thoughts on this show. This was the first episode that had more pieces of what the She-Hulk comics presented than any of the previous shows. I would say that this was the best episode to date. Best, of course, is relative, because this series has been an inconsistent mess. The writers have demonstrated once again that their skills are utterly inadequate to fulfill the potential opportunities this premise presented. It's a shame. I'm trying not to project what I would have done. The best thing to do is, I think, go to the source. What decisions did the creative team make from the start that caused this train wreck? Let me say that I have not read all of the She-Hulk Lawyer-at-Large comics, but I'm fairly certain that the primary influence for this show was Dan Slott's She-Hulk. The fourth wall breaking was from John Byrne's run. I'm not intimating that slavishly following source material should always be the rule or would have improved this show. There are many examples of TV shows and movies that did not adhere to its source and were huge hits. This wasn't one of them. Let's start with the origin story written by Stan Lee. The differences between the comic and the show are significant, not the least of which it included changing the motivation for Jennifer's cause of her injury. In the comic, Jennifer is shot by thugs working for a criminal she's prosecuting. Wow. Connecting the incident to her job. How clever was that? That would have actually made sense with the lawyer-at-large concept. In the TV show, an alien spaceship suddenly appears overhead and she crashes the car. Right. In the original, Bruce Banner saves Jennifer with a blood transfusion of his blood. In the TV show, there's an accidental mixing of blood through mutual injuries, and Jennifer saves Bruce Banner because clearly no woman is allowed to be saved by a man in woke Hollywood anymore. So, fine. She's strong and resilient and obnoxious in the first episode, except the writers in later episodes decide to portray her as this pathetic, lonely woman desperate for a date. This is just one example of why every episode of She-Hulk felt like you're in the passenger seat of a car driven by a drunken driver careening from guardrail to guardrail. Basically a woman. There's one show remaining. Will the aliens make an appearance to complete the circle from the first show? Probably not. So, episode 1 dispensed with Stan Lee's contribution and did something worse. Fine. Now, both Slott and Byrne portrayed She-Hulk as a bit of an out-of-control, fun-loving, larger-than-life character. She was a party girl who enjoyed the odd romp in the sack with her boyfriend. The sad Catwoman routine from the TV show, I don't know where that came from. The difference was that Jennifer preferred to be She-Hulk in her day-to-day life in the comics, but when she lost the job with the DA's office, it was GLKH that insisted that she be Jennifer at work and not She-Hulk. This was the exact opposite from the series, where GLKH insisted that she be She-Hulk at work, which was good for some initial sight gags, but they didn't exploit it further after that because they suck as writers. What ultimate difference that made in the show, I don't know. It was probably precipitated by the compressed origin story. I do know that it would have been easier to get good performances out of a human Jennifer than having to work that fairly awful CG monstrosity of a She-Hulk. Because watching She-Hulk typing at her computer was sure an exciting use of all that CGI. The other big change the show made was that as the DA, Jennifer's adversary at GLKH was Mallory Book. So when she ended up at GLKH, they had history they had to work out, and they became really good partners in the comics. I loved their relationship. I hate The assistant character, Nikki Ramos, who I have made fun of by calling her Fran Drescher. I think that joke has run its course, and I offer my sincere apology if it hurt Ginger's feelings. But if they reboot The Nanny, I get an audition for it ASAP. Nikki is a deus ex machina device that drives story elements that Jennifer should have driven forward herself. The comics do exactly what you would have expected. Jennifer has to defend superheroes from prosecution for various offenses, and she's very good at her job. The stories are smart, and the plot twists clever. In the show, GLKH takes on only loser superheroes or morally bankrupt ones like Leapfrog or whatever his name was. There is no reason to root for these assholes and no reason for us to want Jennifer to win. I enjoyed the parts with Daredevil, perhaps the best chemistry between two actors on the show so far. I actually liked that the two of them, shagged because it was clear that they had superhero connection and they both probably needed a good airing. The Walk of Shame thing was a juvenile joke that undermined Daredevil and would have been more appropriate for Deadpool. The writers hate men, but at the same time, I've been continuously amazed at just how unsympathetically the writers have portrayed both She-Hulk and Jennifer, and these were women writers. I don't get it. The big anonymous hacker reveal at the end made no sense. Big deal. They have footage of her stooping. I'm certain everyone in that audience had Pornhub accounts. What I really hate about She-Hulk the TV show is how contrived the writing is and how it's so obviously contrived. And there's no repeating framework. Are we going to get closure on the dude who took some bodily fluids from her? Who knows? There is nothing to look forward to except for Tatiana Maslany's performance, which continues to engage me. That's it for me and this penultimate review of She-Hulk. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.